Hello and welcome to episode 34 of the Game Dev Tutorials. Today I want to do a little bit more work with the LevelDrawManager, get the units and buildings to all draw with it. Right now they're drawing independently and therefore they're not drawn in order, and so we want to fix that. And then some scrolling cleanup. So there was a while back a comment on the scrolling and how it kind of jitters, and that's true because it actually scrolls twice as fast as you move, so one frame it's moving and one frame it's not. And I did that just in case somebody implemented some code to where the screen needed to move faster than the character did. So for instance, if you had like a blink spell or a teleport spell, or if somehow you got knocked back, or some scenario in which your screen needed to move faster than your character could move, and so it would get back to center. But we're going to correct that with some better code now, and then we'll compare the two and kind of talk about it a little bit. So that's the scrolling cleanup, and we're going to discuss it, and then we're going to add units and buildings to the Draw Manager. This step is just a bunch of making sure the Draw Manager gets passed into places. And then we have to do a little bit of editing in scene item, a really minor amount, but we'll do it. And then we need to remove units and buildings and spawn points, whatever, from LevelDrawManager when they're dead or when they're done. And then we're going to test it. So yeah, that's what we're up to. But just take a second and say, if you like these videos in general, just make sure you hit that like button. It tells YouTube that, you know, this is worth watching. Subscribe if you haven't, please. And then hit that notification bell if you guys want to see when the new content comes out. Although for the most part it's coming out on Fridays right now, but still. But yeah, that'd be great. That will remind you guys to watch the stuff, and then Patreon if it so suits your desire to help support the channel. Alright, so first things first, let's go in and let's deal with the scrolling stuff first. So we have this code. Here we are. There's our code. And in that code, what we have is that simplistic code I was talking about earlier. So you move, the screen scrolls at twice the hero speed. And again, for what we've implemented, you didn't ever need this. But I put it in with the idea that you guys hopefully are, you know, thinking about different things and maybe even implementing things on the side. I know I've seen a few of you guys have sent me code snippets and stuff, and you guys do seem to be editing it, and that makes me super happy. Like, makes me excited to see eventually maybe something come out of this from you guys. So, anyway. That's why I implemented it this way. It was the easiest way to make sure that you guys ended up bug-free. But, again, we got this little, you know, every other frame stutter out of this. And so I figured, you know what, it's time to clean that up a bit. Since we're going to go back and clean up some stuff in LevelDrawManager, we're going to clean up some stuff here. So the first thing we want to do here is set our max speed. So right now our max speed is user hero speed times 2. We're gonna up that just a little bit because we are going to match the correct speed for the screen scrolling, so we can have a higher max speed and without it getting too jittery. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna call it max movement, and then we're gonna set that equal to user hero dot speed times 3. So we're just going to triple it for the time being. You can change that number to whatever you want your max scroll speed to be. Okay, and then we're going to have another float called diff, and you'll see that get used in a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy all of this because parts of this are going to continue to get used. Paste it there, and then I'm going to comment this out so that we can kind of take a look at what we've done in order to kind of see the difference between the code. So to get how far we need to move the screen to get back within our bounds, and remember our bounds are the center 20% of the screen, right? So 10% to the left, 10% to the right, 10% up, 10% down. So we want our character staying within the center 20% of the screen, and we know that in this if statement, in this direction, I believe this is moving to the left. Yeah, it's moving to the left. We are trying to see, hey, is our current position, you know, outside of that, to the left of that, right? So to figure out exactly how far left it is, we say diff equals, and then we take this guy here. Oops, we paste it here, and we say minus, and we say temp pose.x. So that gives us the amount of distance we actually need to move to get within the box. But then we want to take into account our max movement as well. So this is how fast we're moving. We're going to change that. We're going to say math.min. So we want the smallest of these two numbers. The first number is movement.max, or max movement, sorry. And then the other one is diff. Okay? So if diff, let's pretend for a second max movement is 10. Let's just for a second. It's 10. And diff is 50. Well, we're only going to move 10, right? Because that's the max scroll speed that we have. But if the difference is 7, then it'll move 7, right? And if it's 1, it'll move 1. So this will give us the smooth scrolling that you guys were looking for, the couple people that asked about it. And it will also cap the movement speed so you don't just like warp half a screen away. Now you could still do that, but you're going to have to do it in a different way. You're not going to be able to use this function to do it. And so if we take a quick look at that, we had a one-liner inside our if statement, and now we kind of have a two-liner. We could do it in one line, but this is much easier to read. Why do we put movement as a number out here? Well, because you don't want to multiply out multiple times. So that's why. And because it's done once, and then we use it. And then diff, you don't want to recreate a float 4 times. That's another thing with movement. You don't want to recreate a float 4 times. So this is just a little bit more efficient. I mean, look, 4, even 8, which it would never be. It would only be 2 at a time, because you can only enter 2 of these if statements at a time. So 4 total floats is nothing on a frame-to-frame basis, but this is a good thing to get in the habit of, which is creating your variables outside of the loops and the ifs, where they can be used multiple times, because you'll use the same memory address every time, so you're going to save memory, but you'll also not have the instructions required to create said float 2, 4, whatever times per frame. So a little bit of CPU saved, a little bit of RAM saved. Happy days. Okay. Now let's go on and let's do the other ones here. So we are going to have this here. It's going to change a little bit because we're on the other side of it. So we actually are going to be a little bit different. Oops. We have that, and then we have this on this side. So because it's on the other side of our box, it's on the right side of our box, this is the difference. Otherwise, this is the same, so let's grab this. Notice it's a minus here, so it's also different. So this is the other side here, this is the other side here, with a minus instead of a plus. So little things. Let's test these just to make sure that we're working, and you'll be able to see the difference in the jitter if you haven't seen it before. I'm sure you already have. I'm sure you guys have noticed. But let's just take a look at what we got here. Okay, so moving left to right, we have a nice smooth scroll. Now let's go, see that jitter? See the jitter? It got very blurry. Whereas going this way, nice and smooth. And we should have the same thing over here. Ooh, that's jittery, so we did something wrong. Something's not right there. Okay. Let's take a look. What did we do wrong? We have this instead of this. So, I don't know where I grabbed that from. It was not the correct spot. Let's try that again. Nice and smooth to the left. Now we got to check to the right. There we go. Nice and smooth. Whereas this gets jittery. And when I say jittery, look at these lines. They get blurry because it's jittering. They're actually not blurry. They just appear to a human eye to be blurry because it's not being smooth. Okay, and then these lines are all nice and clean and clear when we're going to the left and right now. So that's what we're looking for. That's the fix that we're working on right now. And so let's do the last two here. So we're gonna grab this diff here because it's the same format as this will be. The difference is that we're doing Y's. Y. Sorry, my screen moved and then it threw me off there. And this is a height, so you can just copy it. And then Y, so that's correct. And the difference here is that this is on the Y side of it, but other than that, it's the same as this. So just replace the correct part. And then we're going to take this one because it's the correct format. Put it in here. We're going to do Y. And we're just going to grab this bit here. Put it in here. And put this in here. So, not a ton more code. I mean, obviously we doubled the lines of code, but not a ton more. We had to do a little bit of caching. We had to do a little bit of thinking about how to do this. It's slightly more complicated to think about, but this gets us our nice smooth scrolling. Now, one of the reasons I didn't do this earlier was I wanted to give people a chance to do this on their own, and I kind of mentioned that in a way before. Ooh, I have a brokenness somewhere. Oh, lowercase. Okay. I wanted to give you guys time to attempt to do something like this on your own. There are other ways to do this mathematically. This is the way that I thought of solving the problem this time that I see arising. So we still have the ability to scroll fast, but we also can scroll smoothly. So it solves both problems here. The only problem it doesn't solve is a big teleport to where the screen does need to kind of warp a bit. But we'll get to that another time. But this will give you an example of how to improve a lot of the code around this game is purposefully not perfect. Part of that is so that you guys have an opportunity to improve the code. Part of it is because I'm trying to go fast enough that the videos are not, hours and hours long. And part of it is because I have to sit and think about some of these things for a second before I can get the right answer. I haven't done all of these things so many times that it's all second nature. This one is. This one was on purpose because the video was already running longer than I wanted it to, and also because I wanted you guys to have an opportunity to do it without me telling you how to do it. It's important that you guys do work without me telling you how, because that's when you're really engaging your knowledge rather than just absorbing or regurgitating what I'm putting in, which I'm happy to do with you guys. I'm happy to do that, but there are times when you guys need to take what you've learned and try to apply it, and then if you can't do it, great, that's what I'm here for, but attempting it is a good thing. Alright, so we have our LevelDrawManager here. We need to get that going for all of our different drawables, right? So first things first, we want that to work in our units, but our units are drawn from player, and you'll see that right here. So if we go over into players down here, if we go over here, we are drawing all these things. The goal is actually to draw nothing that we are currently drawing in player through player. We will use the draw manager, which is drawing down here. It's already doing it. We're just going to draw through there for all of those items. To do that, we need to, instead of doing animated 2D, we need to have a attackable object inherit from scene item, and that is going to break because it doesn't need a color. What it needs a scale. That's what it needed. Okay, so that'll do the trick. That'll fix that. Okay. Now all attackable objects are scene items. Magic, right? That was quick. Didn't have to do much. This is the power of generic parent classes. With that simple change, all of the work we did last time, boom, and we already have the ability to make it do what we want it to do. So let's go to scene item real quick. Sorry, had to clear my stuffs there. So public, virtual void, update, and then in this update, we are going to have vector2 offset, as we so often do. But we're also going to have LevelDrawManager, right? Because we want to be able, just by calling update, to get this to work. This is an improvement that I've only recently made on my own. I used to call update draw separately than update. But I found that it is very rare that I don't want to call update draw when I'm updating. So they were just always right next to each other. And when you have that problem and you don't see a real benefit for keeping them separate, what you can do is just call one within the other, right? So if LevelDrawManager not equal null, right, then we're just going to say update draw. So that will run through. If you remember what update draw does, is it updates all the information the LevelDrawManager needs in order to draw the thing properly. Mainly the offset and whether it's drawable. Those are the two important things. But it'll also register the item into the LevelDrawManager, which is important, obviously. So it's a minor change, but something important to do. We are going to need this here. So when we come over here and say, oh, attackable object, we need to pass in the LevelDrawManager. And that is going to need to also have the LevelDrawManager come through. Now, this is going to start breaking a lot of things. This is it's a tedious little process that we are going to go through in order to add all of this in. So it's just everything is going to need this. But it's just part of the deal here. Player is going to need it. All these things are going to need it at some point. Override void, that is correct. But we have other things broken. Okay, user definitely needs it. And before you change something, make sure it's something you expect to need it, right? Just give it a glance real fast. Definitely the here. And make sure that you're not adding it somewhere where you don't think it needs to go. Because if that happens, you may need to rethink what you're doing. That doesn't mean you definitely need to rethink what you're doing, but it's good to consider these things. Okay, so world. It's going to need the lowercase version because that's the actual variable we're passing in. This is going to break and get mad, but it'll get fixed in a minute. We have player AI, absolutely. That one's important to get done. We did that one. All right, let's build it because we're getting different errors. This is building, definitely one that we need. Where are we at? Player building. So this one's going to take LevelDrawManager. Unit. Yes, we definitely need it here. Theoretically, it should need to go in all of these places, but it's just something to double check as you're doing it. It takes a half a second to double check it, and it'll take a long time to find the bug later if it squeaks through on you. Okay, so that hero eventually will get it. We're not getting any errors. Let's build. There we go. More errors. So just follow the errors, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just clicking usually on the top one, unless I think I've already done that one and it didn't update, and we're just going through it. There's a lot of things that we've added to the game, and so there's going to be a lot of instances where we need to do this. This is something you could pass through in a packet also. This is starting to get to a decent amount of variables, parameters coming through. Eventually, I don't like to see these parameters go to 10 and 15. I just create a packet and pass the packet through. But in this case, that's not what this tutorial is about, but that's something that you can, something you guys can go through and consider trying to attempt to do, is creating a packet to pass through all this stuff instead of individual parameters. Let's see. Oh, that was bad. Okay. There's no way that we're done. Okay, good. Because if we were able to compile, then I would be like, uh-oh, now I've got to go find the spots that aren't correct, because I knew that we have a lot more to do. Now we're starting to get into mob and imp, which we definitely need to be into. Spiderling. If I remember, I'll recalculate the code metrics when we're done, kind of see where we're at. Minor detail and something you guys may or may not care about, but earlier this week, my new game surpassed the previous game for the most lines of code in a single game. So that was interesting, since it's nowhere near finished. It's barely going to be ready for early access, and it's already passed it in total code. And also that code is more efficient than the previous, because things got rolled into the engine, so there's actually less code duplication. Okay, so it thinks it's done. I'm not so convinced, but we got the mobs. We got hero. Player didn't ask me to update. Oh, it did. I just missed it. Cool. So we did all that. We did buildings, arrow tower. So we've done the towers, done the mobs. Okay, that seems like it's going to be it. Okay, so that update function will now register and update them. We should no longer need these draws at all. So let's just comp them out. And then they should all work. So let's give it a shot. Let's test it. If it's not right, then we'll search through it. But we should have. There we go. There's our mobs. Ooh, what happened there? Notice that, guys? They're dead, but they're still drawing. Why? Why would they do that? Well, the LevelDrawManager doesn't know to forget them. It's not smart. It's not something that's like heavily, AI'd or whatever. You probably could do all that, but if you notice, all of these things, they're dead, but they don't stop drawing. So what we need to do is we need to come in here. If you look at this, the last step is make sure they get removed from the LevelDrawManager. Well, I guess testing technically is the last step, but okay. So here we have LevelDrawManager dot remove, and then we pass in spawn points I. So it'll find it, it'll remove it. Our remove function looks through it and removes it, right? So we need that. We need unit, so that's literally just copy paste that there. And we need it for buildings. So, okay. We should be good after that. There we go. Play. Here we go. Alright, so we kill it, and it disappears. So this should disappear also when it's killed. There we go. Alright, guys. our level draw manager now draws, and if you watch this, it'll draw over on that side and over here. Oops, hard to see, but it would draw under it. It's hitting it too early. You can barely see it right before it disappears. But that is our tutorial. I want to remind you guys one more time. I know I did it early, but please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. That would be great to have you as a part of our channel. And again, we've been doing one every Friday, a tutorial every Friday, and I keep saying it. I would like to get back to 2 a week, but very, very busy working on Guild of Delinar. Yeah, you know what? If it so tickles your fancy, Patreon's a great way to support us. Another thing you can do is just buy our games on Steam. Oh, that's right. This level 1 only has the 2 spawn points now. Okay. Cool. You know what, guys? I will see you guys next time. I wish you guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and all that jazz. You know what? I should have another one out before New Year's. I will not have another one out before Christmas. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I know Hanukkah's already passed. Happy Hanukkah, all that kind of stuff. Whatever holiday it is that you celebrate, I hope you have a great time with your family and friends and all of that. So, till next time, guys, have a great weekend. Bye.